both your characters experience a range of emotions packed into just a 30-minute episode. But Sophie, your character really has a lot to unpack in such a short time. Do you feel like it's more emotionally draining to take on as an actor as opposed to doing a film or a longer series?
No, I don't find it like draining, weirdly enough. I just actually find doing like bad shows are draining. You know, doing jobs that you don't like, that's draining. Coming to work and doing something that was just, I had such a good time doing this job. I love the story. I love the character I was playing. I love both our characters. I just had such a good time with Tobias and with John and with Kieran. It was in the middle of the lockdown we filmed in Dublin in Ireland. And it was right in the middle of the lockdown. And we were just like, had such a brilliant time. We were in this little bubble and it was just so inventive and creative, the whole job. So if anything, it was invigorating, the job. Even though you're dealing with big emotions, it's kind of really invigorating. So draining only really happens when you're trying to work through a script that's not very good and you just know you shouldn't have said yes and now you're doing it.
I agree with that so much. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, that's life, isn't it? I mean, not all jobs can be amazing. I'm lucky that most of our job is amazing.
Yes, I mean, actually, speaking of that, like Tobias or Sophie, what kind of things attract you about a script? Because I was thinking this has to be the ideal series to be a part of as an actor.
What draws me to scripts? Like the words, like how it's written, the themes and the dialogue is often I find really important to me. And then I guess who's making it, who you're going to go and make it with. It's usually those two things are most important or top of my list in terms of when I'm looking at stuff. I mean, one of the really nice things about doing this job was that it was quite contained and, we could just go to Dublin at a time when it was, London was locked down. And so to be able to travel felt like a bit of a luxury and to go somewhere, stay in a really nice hotel, get to know Sophie, get to know John and Kieran and do a bit of work. And it was, you never really know whether this is going to be true, but it was a genuinely kind of collaborative kind of gang. John and Kieran were really keen for us both to kind of input on scripts and on sort of developing the story. So, yeah, and that's always, so enjoyable when that happens.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was good.
And this love story in your episode focuses on reconciliation, which is often not really applauded. So, Sophie, do you think your characters will actually be able to successfully reconcile, especially with all they're going through, like in real life?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like at that moment when we were doing it that there was real possibilities, but I tried not to think too much ahead when we were doing it, that we just sort of, because I think right up until the last moment, they don't really know what's going to happen. And it was best to, all they know that their hearts were very full for each other. I think that's the only thing that felt that they knew, but like, I didn't really think too much ahead. It wasn't so useful in the acting of it at that moment.
Yeah, in a way, the episode ends in quite an enigmatic way, but I think that's also, isn't that true to like love when you get a bit older? You have to sort of do a day at a time a bit.
Yeah,
definitely. And I feel like society's idea of the perfect love and the perfect love story has really evolved. So do you think that romance fans, either of you, Sophie or Tobias, that romance fans are also evolving and looking for different romance narratives as opposed to the happy ending?
Yeah, I think that's really true. I think that's probably why the shows are also really popular, because love comes in many forms and that's what people want to celebrate now, a lot more than the tired old traditional kind of way that it was depicted. And so I think that's definitely, I think it sort of just caught a moment, didn't it, this show, that, it came at the right time of let's explore love in lots of different ways, because that's what everyone actually is doing, much more vocally and much more kind of positively. And so, and less afraid to. So that's, it just came at the right moment.
Yeah. It really did.
I agree, yeah. Yeah, love is messy. And I think that's what the sort of show is saying, and it sort of turns up in the oddest places.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what's going to, if people loved it from season 1, I think that's what's going to bring them back for season 2. but also just these characters are so amazing. So just my last question, Tobias, I wanted just to ask you what you loved about playing your character.
I liked that he was boyish and a bit naive and has had to grow up. That Elizabeth leaving him has made him sort of, become a better person. I liked that, it's very different sort of character than I played before. That he was, the sort of boyish lightness of it felt kind of a fun thing to kind of sit in for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
That's also what I liked about him too. But...
Oh, good. Okay, it worked. Yes.
Yes. All right, that is all my time though. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Really nice to meet you. Take care. Bye.
I want to say first, Andrew, congrats on your directorial debut.
Thank you.
Before going into your first day on set, what were you telling yourself to like really get your head in the game?
Oof. Well, I had, we were supposed to start shooting in March, and then of course there was a global pandemic, and we had to postpone until September. I guess we got started. So I had a lot of time to prepare for this. And by the time we got on set, I was so excited. So I think what I had to remind myself is to like not come on too strong because I was really excited to be there, but I did not want to overwhelm these folks. I was really lucky with my cast that I had worked with a lot of them before. Some of them were very good friends of mine, but these two guys, Zane and Marquis, were new to me. We had not met, and they were sort of the biggest surprise and the best surprise of the whole experience was how great these two are.
Oh, that's nice.
True.
Marquis, you mentioned in an Instagram post how much of a fan you were of Modern Love season 1. So how does it feel to be a part of season 2? And what else are you trying to manifest, since it seems like you're great at manifesting?
Yeah. Oh man, it's really cool. I mean, like what I said is the truth. Like I really sat and watched the first season and cried and laughed, and it was really fun. And I just really said out loud that I wanted to be a part of this show. And I think that like manifestation is real, and you got to really ask for what you want and be specific. And I also think it's really important to not share it with everyone what you're trying to manifest, because like you really want to get specific and you want to make sure that there's nothing but like great energy that's directed to all the things. So I'm gonna keep manifesting away, but maybe not talking about it on the internet all the time.
I feel you. I definitely feel you on that one.
Thank you.
Well, I had like a love-hate relationship with your episode, because I was dying to know what their interaction was going to be once they finally crossed paths. So, Zane, do you feel like everything that needed to be said was said and summed up with just that look? Or were you also dying to know what they wanted to say to each other?
I think that it's not summed up. I think that there's still, probably a lot that they could talk about, but probably won't. And that's just the nature of, that human connection that happens so briefly. And I think that's just like such a real thing that happens, is that we wish we could say one more thing to someone, or just have things go a different way. But then when you get down to it, like you might just pass that person on the street.
I had one of the executives at Amazon reach out to me and say that they had watched the episode with their daughter, who was like in her 20s, and she was like, "Please tell me that they call each other." And she wanted to know. She was like, "They call each other later, right? Like they go on a date." And I was like, I don't know. Like maybe they do, maybe they don't. But she was really hopeful that they somehow get together at the end.
It's a nice
idea.
Look. We have a nice look, though.
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
I think that there's this like forgiveness, and there's this like moment like that's born of like momentum in New York. Like we have so much going on, and we like have some place to be. And I think a lot of the time we're just very willing to be like, like we're good, we're good, And I think that that's what we see, and that's what we get, and I think that that's kind of beautiful.
Yes.
Really nice
I think that there's this like forgiveness and there's this like moment like that's born of like momentum in New York. Like we have so much going on and we like have some place to be. And I think a lot of the time we're just very willing to be like, yeah, like we're good, we're good, you know? And I think that that's what we see and that's what we get. And I think that that's kind of beautiful.
It definitely is, but I need this closure. Like I need to know.
I feel that.
Andrew, there's so many of these beautiful love stories, some that aren't so happy, but do you ever try to figure out what happens after, like what you learned from the column? Do you ever try to follow up?
Sure. I mean, I think, and they do check-ins now with certain columns, and Dan Jones will go back and figure out sort of where people are. I think some of the beauty and why I think it's such a specific like New York story is because we run into people all the time in New York and you don't really know what's going on in their lives. And you can have really intense interactions with people on the subway or in an elevator and share a laugh, or something sad happens and you both, witness it with this person, and then we'll never see that person again. And there's, a one side of that that's a little sad, but then the other part is there's something really beautiful about just being in the moment. And I think that's what I think this column sort of brings out.
I agree. Well, I loved it so much. It got me all in my feels. But
good. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your character's first crush was Delilah, the radio personality, and that really made me laugh because I love Delilah. So I just wanted to ask, do you actually remember who your first celebrity crush was?
Wow, I forgot about the Delilah things you just mentioned right now. And I also grew up listening to Delilah. She's still on. My first celebrity crush, I don't remember the first one. I've had a number of them since. Actually, I do kind of remember the first one. Blanche Elizabeth Devereaux from The Golden Girls.
Oh, hey, Blanche. No.
I wanted, it was sexualization in a way that it was one of the first times, and she was very free and so on. I think I was attracted to that freedom, and I was like, I want to be all about that. What she's got going on, I want all. I was like 10, but I was like, but I wanted that. Whatever my concept was.
That's almost as interesting as Delilah. So I like it. I accept it.
Rue McClanahan, the actress. That's right.
But this series has a bunch of different characters that are so easy to fall in love with and like. So Zoe, it just reminded me, like, was there a character from any other show or movie that you watched and you thought, like, this is what I got to be like when it comes to romance?
Oh man. Well, I think I just in response to your like question about your first crush and sort of like also romance being like the first thing that when it like first kind of hit me was watching Wayne's World and seeing Tia Carrera walk on screen, and I was like, oh. So she was like my first crush kind of, and also like I was like, yeah, how couldn't anyone not be in love with her? And oh yeah, romance. So
that's really funny how like it hits us all differently.
Yeah.
Gbenga,
I wish my first was Tia Carrera.
Parris, what's your answer?
Oh my gosh, my celebrity crush. Oh, I honestly think it was
What'd you say?
From Good Burger.
Kel?
Yes,
I
Kel.
love
no. Yes, Kel from Good Burger. I think that was one of mine.
Amazing.
So funny. I like the comedian. So
Yeah.
That one got me.
I get that.
All right, and Gbenga, so your character was so likable.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger.
It's so good. Okay, so yeah, but yeah, your character is so likable, so understanding. So did anything resonate with you? Did you take any gems home away from playing him?
No, none of. No, it's. I try to be. I constantly try to work on being more patient and empathetic, and being able to play a character who's written that way was a great reminder and exercise. So yeah, and all the possibilities that can come from that type of practice. It's not easy, but that type of practice that that those goals leads to all types of things, that doors being open that would not otherwise be open as far as relationships with people.
Okay, I like that. I like that. You had a lot of gems. And then my last question is for Zoe. Zoe, I learned so much in this episode. I've never heard of this type of disorder. So did you have to actually research your character to fully understand what she was going through, or it just kind of made sense?
Yeah, I mean, I looked it up and I had not heard of it before, but yeah, it's really wild because it affects, one's own, obviously sleep, like your peak period alertness, and your temperature and hormones and all that stuff. So I was like, wow, that must be so challenging. But I also feel like, we all have our own rhythms and our own quirks, and Gbenga made a great point earlier today about how we're, actors, and our schedule is so weird. I had 3.5 hours of sleep last night. And yeah, it's just, life is weird. So I think that to me, she wasn't that foreign. I had a lot of empathy for her lifestyle.
Honestly, so did I. I have no sleep pattern, so I was like, oh, this is kind of my thing too. Very relatable. Very relatable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is all my time. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Parris.